Yo, what actually is the downside to an IUL policy, if there is any? By the end of this episode, you will understand why or what happens when an IUL policy doesn't perform like it should. Also, what you can do to prevent this from happening to you. But you'll also understand that it may be just choosing the wrong company or even the wrong type of product. You also might be surprised that your advisor might not be setting it up for your goals properly. So here's some tea to know if your advisor or your agent is actually setting it up properly. Lock in. If you're tuned in on YouTube or have listened to previous podcasts, you'll know that my favorite vehicle that retirees should put 40 to 50% of their assets in should be the IUL policy, max funded. In other words, 40 to 50% of your retirement should be completely tax-free. This is because there are a lot of retirees who are soon to reach retirement and they have a lot of money and soon to be taxed 401ks and IRAs. Not only that, but the money that they take out of these 401ks and IRAs will be taxed for the rest of their lives. Some people pay 8 to 12 times the taxes during retirement than what they would have paid if they were to put into these vehicles. Also, at the time of retirement, they're not going to be in the lowest tax bracket. So if you do believe that the IUL policy may be the right vehicle for you to accumulate your money tax-free, and maybe even reposition some of that money out of your 401k or your IRA to be able to benefit from the tax benefits, the tax-free growth, and the tax-free assets. You can even reposition money that's in underperforming assets like your bank or even the credit union. Let's say you're even tired of being a landlord and you want to take the equity out that property and put it in something. This will be the vehicle for you. We'll save real estate investing and IULs for later episodes because you'll want to tune into that. But also, even if you have a lump sum, you can use the IUL for dream solutions to fulfill your financial future. Because believe it or not, it's one of, if not the only vehicle in the Internal Revenue Code that allows you to access your money tax-free, and it also grows your money tax-free. This thing does not come with that 59.5 rule or anything like that. You can literally put in $200,000 and pull out 120 grand out the next week, no taxes. This is a very flexible solution and there's no taxes. It's tax-free. And at the end of the day, when you die, you'll leave all that money behind plus what it blossoms to for your family and your family's future. I don't know anything else in the Internal Revenue Code that allows you to do this. But then, of course, you get those people that believe that it sounds too good to be true. But here's the real question. What if you thought that it wasn't going to be true, but it ended up actually being true? How would you act? Most people would never believe that life insurance would be as good as an investment. And to be honest, we don't even call it an investment because according to the Internal Revenue Code, an investment is something that is soon to be taxed or can also trigger tax. I don't want to pay taxes anytime. So this is why I use the IUL. Also, most investments are subject to the market volatility. I don't want that either. So this is why technically the IUL is not considered an investment. All right. Let me stop hyping it up. Now that you know, and now that you're here, I know why you're here. Let's talk about what are the downsides of the IUL policy. For starters, some people just flat out use the wrong insurance companies. There are probably a few thousand legal reserve insurance companies today. Legal reserve companies or companies that have legal reserves on hand just in case of a bank collapse or an economy collapse. They love liquidity. Not to mention 40 to 60% of the bank's assets are in insurance companies for the liquidity, the safety, and the growth. So I recommend if you decide to put your serious cash into an insurance company, you make sure you don't jeopardize your future. This means you should look for companies who are rated 90 or higher on a Comdex score. So if you were to choose a company that had a 92 Comdex score, that means this company is better than 92% of the insurance companies in America. So keep in mind, a lot of companies are just around for the death benefit. Also keep in mind, just because the company's bigger doesn't mean it's better. They also could be just more stingy. Maybe they just keep all the money to themselves and don't pay you good dividends. So do not measure a company based on their size. Honestly, want to seek those who are more generous. For example, a mutual company may be more generous than a stockholder company because a stockholder company only favors the stockholders. Diversity is key when it comes to these vehicles. Diversity may also be used by different indices and linking methods which we'll talk about in different episodes. You can have a policy for yourself, your spouse, or even your kids. But when we talk about the downsides of the IUL, when it comes to the company, that might be the first downside. But when we talk about the downsides of the IUL, if you choose the wrong company, that could be your first downside. You also might not get a good rate of return because the company didn't design the product. So that leads to what's next, choosing the right product. It's possible to have the right company, but the wrong product. I'm learning that some insurance agents or advisors are setting these policies to help their family, not yours. So you want to make sure you choose the right product based on your goals. So if this information is interesting to you, do me a favor. If you're watching this video on YouTube, drop your favorite emoji below so I know you're watching. If you stick to the end, I will let you know if your financial advisor knows what they're doing with this vehicle. This is because the next downside that could happen is if it's not structured properly. What I'm learning is that 90%, over 90% of IUL policies are not structured properly or even funded correctly. To properly structure these vehicles, you have to understand TEFRA, DEFRA, and TAMRA tax citations. You also have to understand what Section 72E means, Section 7702, and Section Code 101A means when it comes to properly structuring your policy and the time limit as well that it's needed to be tax-free. This is why you design it to accommodate only the amount of money that you would like to put into it. So what you're doing is you're taking the least amount of insurance that the IRS will allow you to get away with while also putting in the most or funding the most amount of money that the IRS will allow you to get away with. Now, if your goal is living benefits, you want to make sure if you earn something like 10%, you actually net that 10%. Most policies are set up that if you earn 10%, you might net 6%. So you want to make sure your financial advisor can answer these questions that I give you at the end of this episode. So you want to have it structured properly. Then the rest is on you. You have to make sure it's funded properly. If you say you want to put $500 a month into it, you better be able to put $500 a month into it, or let your advisor know that you need to make adjustments. Or if you even say you want to put $100,000 in it, you want to make sure you put $100,000 in it or adjust it to where you can catch up those fundings in the end, or the illustration will not properly perform like it says. So it has to be structured properly and funded correctly. Now, you're not locked in anything. It's very flexible. I've said this on many other episodes. You also want to make sure your advisor has annual reviews or annual meetings with you about your policy. Anything can happen. You can have more access to cash. You could have sold a property for more equity, or you could have lost your job. Adjustments need to be made on the annual basis. And you can do all this and still make sure it performs just as well. But if you don't and your financial advisor has quit or done something else, you want to make sure you at least know someone who knows how to properly fund these so you don't end up gaining 10 or earning 10% and only netting 4% in this policy. I want you to earn within 1% of your net. And that 1% is just to cover the cost of insurance. So just a quick review before we go to the last one. For starters, you want to make sure you choose the right company. Then you want to make sure you have the right product. Also, you want to make sure it's structured correctly. And then you want to make sure it's funded properly. So this then will lead to our annual accountability review, which shows or tells us if we need to make adjustments or not. This is like running a 4x4. Let's say the first leg runs out of his leg and it's an automatic disqualification, but you're still running the whole race. Let the fourth leg pull through and win the race, and then finds out that they've already been disqualified. How would they feel? How would you feel? So this leads to why the IUL does not perform as well, or the number one reason why the IUL does not perform. It's because your advisor needs to stay up to date and needs to be proficient on the practice of this vehicle. If not, it will not perform like you want it to. So this also leads to the questions you need to ask your financial advisor who you want to home your IUL policy through. But first, don't forget to click that link in the description. There's a free ebook called The Smith Fund, Saving Money in Tax-Free Homes, where it teaches you A to Z of how to properly structure these policies. Free ebook. Check it out. Now, these are the questions to ask your financial advisor. Number one, what is TEFRA, DEFRA, and Tamara. What do they mean? Question number 2. What are the meanings of section code 72E, 7702, and section code 101A? What do they mean? If your financial advisor cannot answer these right off the cuff, run. You are in for a rude awakening. Also, if they start with an I think, or you can tell they're making something up, that should be a red flag. This is because any financial advisor that knows how to do this, it should be second to none. It should be rolling right off of their tongue. So this is about you. I want to protect you. So when people ask what could go wrong with the IUL, it could be the company, it could be the product, but most importantly, it could be your financial advisor. I would just hate to see your policy after 5 to 10 years to see that it's poorly and not properly structured. And you and I don't want to have to talk about how to make up for that lost time. So the first step I suggest you do is click the link below, check out the free ebook, and it will show you steps 1 or steps A to Z of how to properly structure your Smith Fund or your max funded IUL contract. Be sure to also check out more episodes on this channel as we try to educate you as much as possible. Once again, my name is Justin Smith. We'll see you next episode. Peace.